Jeez, this thing shakes a lot. Anyway, welcome. Magnus here. I'm probably blurry, but that's alright. Trying to get this thing to record me without shaking. I'm having trouble balancing my gimbal occasionally, and that's not cool. Gotta learn to balance my gimbal accurately. But today's video, where are my keys? Duh! Shake-a-thon. Again, balancing. I don't know if I have my keys. Stop shaking! There they are. Today's video is about editing with the Davinci Resolve and editing the Blackmagic RAW footage with Davinci Resolve. I've edited all my Blackmagic footage in Adobe Premiere, which I've had B-Raw Studio for a while, but then Blackmagic released the ability to edit. Stop shaking. Blackmagic released the ability to edit. Yes, we get it. Without it. Alright, we're cutting. Hang on. There you go. I figured I'd get it not holding it and pretty much staying still so that I can get it to not shake so much. But anyway, here we go. Magnus here, and I wanted to talk about the Blackmagic update for the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K. Specifically, I'm using it with the Pocket 4K, and the update so far, I filmed a couple of scenes with slow motion at 2.5K, 120 frames per second, which is amazing that they could use an older camera, not the 6K, but the 4K, and still get a little bit more out of it that we honestly really didn't expect, at less of a crop, which is cool. But also, the purpose of this too, besides the shots, is that I wanted to edit as much as I possibly could on Davinci Resolve. So let's take this footage that I've got right here, and let's take what I've filmed previously last weekend, and see if I could put up something comprehensive in Davinci Resolve and let you know what my experience was like. Now, I've used it before lightly for some light color grading. I'm not the best at it. And I've also used it for some tweaks and playing with it, trying to get more familiar with it. But my experience with Davinci Resolve so far has been novice. I haven't really given it a chance. But now that I'm not under so much pressure to get a video done and I can give it time, let's see, without looking up instructional videos, if moving from Premiere to Davinci Resolve could be that easy. Let's get to it. Alright, so I'm at the desk ready to record my edits, and the thing is, I've been playing around with this a couple of times, and I've been telling you guys over the scenes that you've just seen, which I'm about to start editing right now, is that as I play with it, I'm discovering new things that I could possibly do, but at the same time, I just wanted to show you guys not an expert's opinion, so don't look at this as an instructional video, but just kind of like the experience of someone who's really seasoned at using Adobe Premiere and like knowing where everything is and menus. Jumping over to Davinci Resolve, not for the first time. I've practiced with it a little bit, but still trying to get a prime edit. So I'm going to cut this up a little bit, and then you guys can follow me and see kind of how I do it. Stop right there. Now, I know I look all confident in this edit, but man, this first edit was a bit of a challenge. While editing this very part of the video, the software kept crashing on me. Anyway, let's continue. I imported all of my media because I just dragged and dropped from a folder that I have, and it just came in over here. Davinci Resolve has this weird thing of like, I don't know where my files save, but they save somewhere on the hard drive. Now, I've got a hidden off-screen like scopes, and I kind of want to just put it somewhere on the screen, but I don't know how to actually clip it and just kind of make it part of my workspace here. And when I click on these things on the side, it gives me a different view and different scopes, which I find useful, but oh, I just resized it too. I don't even know how I did that. I find it useful, but I don't have space for it. So luckily I have a second monitor and I just rush it off to the side there. All right, so I dropped a couple of items on my timeline here. So this is kind of like the editing workspace where you can cut. Now I know that Davinci Resolve has these sections on the bottom where this is where you import your media, this is where you edit, this is Fusion where you do like After Effects style things. I'll click on it and then you can see how it works. It works with what these are called nodes, which are like similar to layers. But exactly how you add effects or do any other things, I really have not played with it, so I don't know. This is the bread and butter of Davinci Resolve, which is like the color correction portion of it, which is pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, let me be clear. No way am I an expert on color correcting. I just know what I like, make the tweaks I need for what I like, and move on. I'm kind of familiar on how to use this and use the camera raw settings for all of the Blackmagic RAW footage that I recorded, and then just adjust temperatures, whatnot, update sidecar of the files, which I actually should probably do. That way I can get these settings pretty much on default on the raw file and then put it in Adobe Premiere if I want. Then I could work with like the color wheels or pretty much using the color match card to get everything, which I don't have a color match card. Here's like the whole like thing. It's just kind of like, okay, I know what I want to do and it's right there, but where do I find it? And it's that whole learning curve that somebody from Premiere would have a little bit of issue with when working with Davinci Resolve. But let's jump back in. Oh, and another thing that I wanted to mention. Whoa, my hard drive space started to disappear quickly thanks to the program's cache. I know it's a given for any editing program, but make sure you set your cache to a disk that has plenty of space on it, preferably an SSD. But it's important to mention that the cache files by default ended up to be huge, way bigger than the total of all the videos in this project. This is the color. Then you could do some audio edits, which I raised the volume of a couple of these clips because they recorded low. And if you listen to them, I'm going to play here.
Didn't expect at less of a crop,
like
which
the
is
levels
cool.
are where they need
But also the purpose of this too, besides the shots, is that I wanted to edit.
It's like you can. There's a lot of like audio editing, sound libraries, masters, kind of fades, all this interesting stuff. But again, still very new to this. And then a whole like encoder output section that has a few presets. You can pick the codec or the format that you want to do. I would probably choose MP4 for most of it. Then there's the codec that works with MP4. But if I did something like QuickTime offers all these other ones. Goodness, my voice is so monotone. Let's pick it up, shall we? All I do is speak about my concept of what my edit was about. So, let's just continue. Well, here's where I can grab the files. Here's where my preview monitor is, which is nice and big, and there's the regular monitor there. But then if I just kind of do a crossfade, put it right here. I've never done this before, actually, so let's see how that sounds.
Cutting. Hang on. There you go. I figured I'd get
a rough bump in the beginning, so I'm gonna move this over, which that worked pretty good. But then I want to drag over what I recorded this morning. So this is the clip that I recorded this morning, and I wish I could just double click it and then go like to color correction, because I want to see the color corrected shot like right away. And I like making these video files low, like smaller. Hold on. See, this is one butter thing, is the fact that all these raw files play pretty easily. Let's see if it does a blur dissolve, what this actually looks like. It's nice to have those tools, right? Convenient for transitions. Oh, that is nice. Now, I am a fan of transitions. I absolutely love like a good transition between one shot and another. If I don't want to put in a bunch of B-roll, I just want to get it done and just kind of go from one for the other. And that
Over a transition? Come on, man. Is this my first time editing? Really though, when using new software, sometimes it's the simplest thing that you make that makes you go, oh my gosh, I found out I can do something. I'm sold. Even though it's pretty primitive.
Wait a minute, maybe you should consider giving Davinci Resolve a better chance when it comes to editing. But let's see what else I can do with this. Now, I just get the feeling that I just want to color correct this again right away. So I jump into the color correcting panel. Now it splits all of my shots that I put into the timeline into these subsections. And I am just going to go and color correct. It's a clip as shot. I had it at ISO 1250, but I don't need it any higher. Color temperature maybe a little warmer. Got the detail in, got the look of this in. I can throw in LUTs right from here, like a Blackmagic design LUT. And then when I highlight it, I can see what the LUT looks like pretty much right away. But because I did some adjustments from the flat file, it looks a bit natural. Gonna get the next clip, and the next clip is this night shot that I had here. So now that I got it here, I'm actually going to set the in and out point. Now that I'm really focusing on the editing in Davinci Resolve, it's really not that bad. Now I'm really curious on how long it's going to take to render. I don't know how to use, like I've used it a couple times but never really gave it a chance. I did some color correction and then output. Not any real editing like I'm doing now. This is my first time doing real edits and just kind of working with it. So I apologize for my workflow, but I hate, it's like I didn't think I'd be jumping on into this or feel as comfortable with editing, but I honestly do. And yeah, I'm not one of those editors that just goes real quick. I like to take my time with edits and play with things for hours, even on Adobe Premiere. So that's just kind of my style. The fact that you can jump from, like, I'll give all of these a name: Premiere, Audition, After Effects, Encoder, all of these different apps that are disconnected in Adobe Premiere and run their own heavy engines. It's just in one application. That's another reason why I like it, because you could just go boom, 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 want to edit this, want to edit that.
All right, let's see how this looks.
And we're back here. So another lighting change. It's pretty dark this time, and I'm kind of close, but I wanted to talk about when it comes to my experience in editing, especially cutting clips. Now, cutting clips doesn't feel as natural as it does with Adobe Premiere, where I could just grab the clips that I want from the preview monitor and then just drag it down. Now, you could do that in Davinci Resolve, but because I'm not used to it, it's a little tricky for me. And especially getting the clip that I want and putting it there, or piling clips on top of clips, you know, from different layers, and piling them up on top of each other is the struggle that I'm still trying to figure out. And I know it's user error, but it's my error.
All right, now let me explain what in the world I'm talking about. Basically, when I'm adding different layers of video, the software defaults to making the new layer of video a large block. I'm used to much smaller blocks, so I then have to resize the layer. Also, when you cut out a portion of video, I like that the software does a ripple delete, but then to check the edit, you have to find the beginning of that cut yourself. Now, I know it's probably my error, but still frustrating.
But the one thing that I do like is the fact that Davinci Resolve uses your graphics card. I love the fact that it uses a graphics card for easier playback, because all that raw footage that I have and that I'm working with, it just runs smoothly. I could color correct and still work pretty fast. But I'm still trying to figure out, how do you add effects or other type of things that I want to add. So if you're watching this, we'll see. But I do want to say, and I kind of touch upon again, that the fact that the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and 6K updates are amazing, and they're working really well with this camera, and I'm actually very impressed with the Blackmagic camera and just enjoying it. It's really cool, it's really cinematic. And let's continue on with the computer, see what we got. Bye.
And then I guess that's where I would break in here, but that's the end of that footage. I'm gonna see if I can output just the outside footage and see how long that takes while I'm recording. So I'm gonna be encoding this, what we're doing, and outputting to a different hard drive, because if I output in the same hard drive that I'm recording this in and it's all external, I might like overload the system. But let's get to deliver. So deliver, it has everything here on the bottom ready to render in the way that I pretty much left it. So it's in the bottom, but it has all the items here. So you start with selecting the title. So this is just outside Davinci footage is what I'll call it. I'm gonna browse, putting it in a Davinci folder. So I've got the folder. I chose the codec 8264 encoder native. Now I'm gonna add to render queue because that'll put it on this right side. And then from this right side you could start to render. So I've got in grand total, we're gonna output at least about like 6 minutes of footage. Alright, start render. I'll fast forward from here. Although I gotta say, holy bananas. For 4K footage that's raw, this software is flying through what I recorded, and it's color corrected, and I had some minor tweaks here or there in audio and footage. Jeez. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just learning with you guys, and I just wanted to share this experience with you. And my point is, I'm also going to finish this render, this video, and finalize it only using Davinci Resolve. No Premiere in this edit. So, yeah, leave a like. Wow. Completed. Now, usually when I render something off of Adobe Premiere, even though it says 100%, it still has some other loading that it's got to do. But this one, when it hit 100%, it was like at 100%. And there's the file. All in all, before I finish this edit, and then you're going to see everything final, I have to say that working with Davinci was a lot quicker than I anticipated when it comes to a learning curve, but there's still a lot that I'm like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So the learning curve is there, but if you're familiar with Adobe Premiere, especially if you're very affluent with Adobe Premiere, like I'm used it for years, you can do a pretty good job of transitioning. You just have to, I think you just have to adopt it when you're not in a time crunch. When you just want to mess around and you just want to experiment with it and you're not in a time crunch to learn, take the time to just practice and learn, edit a couple of things yourself that's not under an intense amount of pressure. And you'll probably learn to like it, just like I'm learning to like it right now.
Oh, and one final thing. I'm still sticking to Premiere. For now.
Those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? Oh, and working with the Blackmagic raw footage is amazing. I definitely would use Davinci Resolve a lot more often, hopefully. But, you know, it's up to you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And as always, like, share, and you can make my day. If you subscribe today, this is Magnus, and I'm out. Still got to edit the rest of this episode. See you guys later.